You're exhausted, though you might not even know why. It feels like you're always carrying an invisible burden, like you've been chosen to hold everything together, to keep peace, to make sure no one gets upset. You've spent your life trying to be the good one, the polite one, the understanding one, the one who always forgives. You were told that good people win in the end, that if you're honest, humble, and kind, the world will recognize it. But what if that story was never true? What if it was a comforting lie, told to keep you obedient, predictable, and easy to control? How many times have you stayed silent just to keep the peace? How many times have you let someone cross your boundaries and still said, "It's fine"? How many times have you swallowed your pride, your anger, your truth, just to avoid disappointing anyone? You've been rewarded with invisibility. Listen carefully. The world does not reward good people. It rewards strategic ones. If you're watching this, it's probably because you felt it. The growing frustration of always being the one who gives in, who forgives, who understands. And you've started to see the pattern. The more you try to please, the less you're respected. The more you give, the less you're valued. The more you care, the more you're taken for granted. And this is where Machiavelli steps in not as a villain, but as a teacher. He wasn't the monster history paints him to be. He was simply honest about how power works. He understood that pure morality detached from reality becomes a prison. That being seen as good isn't the same as being strong, fair, or respected. That's what this conversation is about, not cruelty, not manipulation, but awakening. Waking up from the childish belief that goodness alone will save you, because as long as you keep trying to please everyone, you'll be controlled by everyone. And if you're tired of being used, ignored, or forgotten, then maybe it's time to change. Look around. Who gets ahead? Who earns respect? Who commands attention? Is it the kind, the selfless, the endlessly patient? Or is it the assertive, the confident, the ones who know how to draw lines and refuse to be manipulated? Machiavelli saw this centuries ago. He wrote, "The prince not to glorify evil, but to expose the rules of a game most people don't even realize they're playing." His harshest lesson: being good is not enough. Often, it's the fastest route to being forgotten. You can dedicate your life to loyalty and kindness. You can pour your heart into helping others. But the day you stop being useful, you'll be replaced without guilt, without hesitation, and without thanks. Because the world doesn't measure your worth by your virtue. It measures it by your value. Notice how the nice ones are always chasing approval, always explaining, always justifying, always proving they deserve what others take for granted. Meanwhile, those who say no, who set boundaries, who refuse to apologize for existing, those people are respected. Why? Because blind kindness looks like weakness, and weakness is never respected. Machiavelli once said, a leader should prefer being feared to being loved, if he must choose. Not because fear is cruel, but because it commands respect. It creates the perception that you have the power to act, that you are not to be crossed without consequence. That applies to you too. Because the moment people realize you'll sacrifice your peace to avoid upsetting them, you become expendable. And maybe that's what you've been feeling, this deep exhaustion that comes from always giving, always forgiving, always pretending you're fine. That's not kindness. That's fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of being seen as selfish. Fear of being called a bad person. But here's the truth. You cannot live your life as everyone's safety net and still expect to be respected. Because the world doesn't respect self-erasure. Behind your goodness hides something deeper, a desperate need for acceptance. You weren't born to please everyone. You were conditioned to. Since childhood, you were told to smile, to obey, to be liked. And over time, you learned that being accepted meant silencing your own voice. But what you thought was goodness was actually submission. It's time to break that conditioning. To understand that you can be kind and powerful, that you can be compassionate without being soft, that your boundaries don't make you cruel, they make you visible. So from this moment on, remember this: you are not here to be liked, you are here to be respected. And in the next part, we'll go deeper into the psychological roots of people-pleasing and why what you call kindness might actually be fear in disguise. You weren't born trying to please everyone. That's something that was taught to you worse. It was conditioned into you. Since you were little, you were trained to earn acceptance at the cost of your authenticity. Be polite. Don't talk back. Be nice. Don't make anyone uncomfortable. Every rule carried the same message. If you want love, you have to earn it by being agreeable. You smiled when you wanted to cry. You apologized when others hurt you. You learned that peace mattered more than truth, and so you built your entire identity around avoiding rejection. But what no one told you is that this form of kindness is a trap, a gilded cage built from polite words and fake smiles. You were rewarded for being well-behaved, not for being real. Every compliment, "You're so nice, you're such a good person," wasn't about your soul. It was about your compliance. So you learned to survive by pleasing. But survival isn't living. This is the psychological root of chronic niceness. It's not moral strength, it's fear. Fear of being disliked, fear of being abandoned, fear of standing alone. You've been mistaking fear for virtue your whole life. You tell yourself you're being empathetic, but often you're just avoiding confrontation. You call it understanding, but it's really fear of being misunderstood. You call it forgiveness, but it's fear of losing approval. And the worst part? You think this makes you good, but it doesn't. It makes you invisible. Your so-called kindness has become a mask, a disguise that hides your anger, your needs, your individuality. You've been hiding behind it for so long that now you can't even tell where the mask ends and you begin. And if you don't take it off soon, it will fuse to your skin. But Machiavelli offers you a way out, not through cruelty, but through clarity. He understood the game of perception better than anyone. He said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, but few know what you really are." Think about that. You might have the purest intentions in the world, but people don't respond to your intentions. They respond to your image. You can be the most just, generous person alive, but if you appear weak, people will treat you that way. Because the world doesn't reward good hearts, it rewards strong frames. That's why Machiavelli didn't tell you to stop being moral. He told you to stop being naive. He taught that a prince, a person of influence, must learn when to appear virtuous and when to act strategically. He compared power to the nature of two animals, the fox and the lion. The fox, cunning and alert, sees traps before stepping into them. The lion, fierce and commanding, terrifies the wolves who approach. To survive in a world of wolves, you must be both. Wise enough to see danger coming, strong enough to make others think twice before testing you. Do you want respect? Then understand, virtue isn't just about doing good. It's about knowing when not to. Real virtue isn't blind generosity. It's intelligent restraint. It's knowing that sometimes mercy invites exploitation, that sometimes silence protects your dignity more than explanation ever could. Machiavelli said, "A man who always tries to be good will come to ruin among so many who are not good." And you know this. You've lived it. You've tried to be good in every situation. And what has it earned you? Disrespect, disappointment, regret. People don't play fair, and if you keep assuming they do, you will always lose. This doesn't mean abandoning your values. It means refusing to weaponize them against yourself. It means using goodness as choice, not as obligation. You can be honest without being gullible. You can be generous without being drained. You can forgive without offering endless second chances. Machiavelli wasn't telling you to stop caring. He was telling you to start calculating. He understood that the appearance of kindness can be more powerful than kindness itself, because appearance is what others respond to. A leader who's respected doesn't need to beg for trust. He commands it through presence, composure, and control, and you can do the same. It begins the moment you stop explaining yourself, the moment you stop apologizing for your standards, the moment you realize that your peace is not up for negotiation, because the truth is simple. The world doesn't reward those who disappear for the comfort of others. It rewards those who stand firm even when it makes others uncomfortable. So ask yourself, has your kindness been protecting you or exposing you? Has it been a source of strength or a shield for fear? If your version of good requires you to constantly suppress your truth, your needs, your anger, then it's not goodness. It's submission. And submission, no matter how polite, is never respected. In the next part, we'll go deeper into how to break this false idea that you must choose between being kind or being cruel. Because there's a third path, and it begins with strength, awareness, and self-respect. There's a deadly confusion that ruins good people. The belief that to be kind, you must be submissive. That goodness means silence. That morality means self-erasure. You've been taught that being a good person requires swallowing anger, forgiving endlessly, and never saying no. But that's not kindness. That's cowardice dressed as virtue. True kindness doesn't demand that you destroy yourself to make others comfortable. It doesn't ask you to smile while people take advantage of you. It doesn't mean giving everyone unlimited access to your time, your energy, your heart. That's not goodness. That's dependency. Emotional addiction disguised as morality. Naive people think the world will treat them with the same heart they offer. They think fairness is contagious, that if they just keep being honest, patient, and generous, life will eventually balance itself out. But the truth, it never does. Naive people expect reciprocity. They expect gratitude. And when the world doesn't return it, they break down because they were never being good for the sake of good. They were being good to avoid rejection. And here's the brutal truth. The world doesn't care about your intentions. It reacts to your power. Machiavelli saw this centuries ago. He said, "A prince must not only appear merciful, faithful, humane, and religious, he must know when to act in the opposite way." That's not hypocrisy. It's wisdom. The world is full of predators disguised as saints, manipulators with polite smiles, and fools rewarded for their confidence. If you walk through life believing that everyone will mirror your purity, you're not virtuous. You're bait. So what does real kindness look like? It's not about how often you say yes. It's about how clearly you say no. True kindness has boundaries. It's grounded in self-respect. It can forgive, but it doesn't forget. It can be generous, but it never gives away its power. Machiavelli understood that in a world of wolves, virtue without strength is just fresh meat. So ask yourself, when you call yourself good, is it because you're strong enough to choose kindness, or too afraid to choose confrontation? There's a huge difference, because real kindness doesn't beg, it doesn't chase, it doesn't apologize for existing. It stands firm and says, "This far, no further." That's the kind of virtue that commands respect, not pity. People don't respect those who never push back. They respect those who can be calm but dangerous, compassionate but not naive, kind but never soft. You can be a good person with an iron spine. You can be gentle and still impossible to manipulate. You can smile and still make people think twice before crossing you. Machiavelli wasn't against virtue. He was against delusion. He knew that in a world driven by power and perception, moral purity without strategy is self-sabotage. You think being nice will protect you from cruelty, but it does the opposite. It attracts it. Because those who would exploit others are drawn to people who won't fight back. Your goodness doesn't make you safe. It makes you visible. And, to the wrong kind of person, visibility is an invitation. That's why the greatest strength you can develop isn't aggression. It's discernment. Knowing when to be kind and when to be silent. Knowing when to give and when to disappear. Real goodness requires awareness. It's not just about having a heart. It's about having eyes. So let me ask you, how many people in your life have mistaken your kindness for permission? How many have tested your patience, pushed your limits, drained your energy, and you let them because you thought tolerance was a sign of goodness? It's not. It's a sign of conditioning. You were raised to believe that walking away makes you cruel. But walking away is sometimes the most compassionate thing you can do. For yourself and for them. Because every time you let someone exploit your silence, you're teaching them that disrespect is acceptable. Machiavelli would tell you that leadership, real leadership, comes from balance. It's not about cruelty or passivity. It's about mastery. Mastery over emotion, over impulse, over image. You don't need to scream to be respected. You just need to stand so firmly in your truth that others feel it before you even speak. And when you reach that point, when your presence carries more weight than your words, you no longer have to beg the world to see your worth. The world starts adjusting itself around you. That's what happens when kindness grows teeth. So stop believing that being a good person means being harmless. A good person who cannot defend themselves is not virtuous. They're vulnerable. The world doesn't need more nice people. It needs strong people with hearts of gold and spines of steel. And if you've ever felt the sting of being used, overlooked, or ignored, it's time to stop being a background character in your own story. In the next part, we'll talk about how to stop being nice without becoming cold. How to reclaim your power without losing your soul. Because strength without compassion is tyranny. But compassion without strength is suicide. When people finally wake up from their own submission, they often swing too far the other way. They confuse strength with hardness, confidence with cruelty. After years of being stepped on, they decide the only way to survive is to become untouchable, to never care, never feel, never trust again. That's the rebound effect. The pendulum swings from one illusion to another, from the illusion of goodness to the illusion of control. You see it everywhere. People who've been hurt suddenly become cold, sharp, unapproachable. They think they've become powerful, but really, they've just built new walls around the same wound. They mistake emotional shutdown for evolution. But Machiavelli would warn you denial isn't power. It's trauma wearing armor. True strength doesn't come from killing your softness. It comes from mastering it, from choosing when to show it and when to hold it back, from acting, not reacting. Real power isn't the absence of feeling. It's the ability to rule your feelings. So if you finally realize that being nice was destroying you, don't turn that realization into bitterness. Don't become a mirror image of the people who hurt you. You don't need to be cruel to stop being used. You just need to stop begging for understanding from those who benefit from your confusion. Here's the truth. You don't owe anyone softness that costs you self-respect. You can be kind, but you can no longer be accessible to everyone. You can be understanding, but not at the expense of your boundaries. You can forgive, but you do not have to reopen the door. So how do you stop being nice without betraying who you are? Step 1. Remember that your voice matters. You've been conditioned to think that standing up for yourself makes you selfish. But silence doesn't make you good. It just makes you small. The real selfishness is expecting you to suffer quietly while others stay comfortable. Speaking up doesn't mean being aggressive. It means being real. Saying calmly, "That's not acceptable." Saying, "No, thank you," without guilt. Declaring your boundaries not as an apology, but as a fact. Every time you speak your truth without flinching, you train the world to treat you differently. Step 2. Practice the word no. You don't owe anyone constant availability. A firm, quiet no has more power than 1,000 explanations. Because explanation invites negotiation, but clarity ends it. People who love control hate the word no. They'll accuse you of changing, of being cold, of becoming selfish, but that's only because your compliance once served them. Your transformation exposes their dependence on your weakness. Their discomfort is proof that you're evolving. Step 3. Stop needing to be understood. Not everyone will understand your growth, and that's fine. You don't owe them emotional footnotes. If someone only valued you when you were easy to manipulate, their confusion now is not your problem. You're not here to maintain the image they built of you. You're here to become the version of yourself that no longer asks for permission to exist. Step 4. Replace your desire to be accepted with a commitment to be authentic. When you act from authenticity, you might lose shallow approval, but you'll gain something deeper: self-respect. And once you respect yourself, the world begins to mirror it back. People speak differently to you. They hesitate before crossing your line. Your presence changes the atmosphere, because confidence isn't loud. It's stillness. That's what Machiavelli meant when he said, "A prince must appear virtuous when it is convenient, and act strategically when it is necessary." In today's world, that means this: you don't have to prove your goodness, you just have to protect it. Machiavelli's idea of virtù wasn't moral perfection. It was mastery, the blend of intelligence, courage, and control. To be calm when others panic. To be patient when others rush. To act with precision when others react from emotion. This is how you stop being nice without losing your humanity. You move with purpose. You speak less but mean more. You choose carefully who gets your attention, your forgiveness, your time. Because your energy is currency, and not everyone deserves to spend it. And here's where many people fail. They think self-respect is something others have to give them. But respect is not a gift. It's a boundary. It's a line you draw, not a favor you receive. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. If you keep letting disrespect slide, you're not being kind. You're training others to ignore your worth. Machiavelli once wrote that people must either be respected or removed. That sounds harsh, but it's deeply practical. In modern terms, it means this: some people don't deserve access to you. You don't need to hate them. You just need to make them irrelevant. Silence is enough. Distance is enough. When you stop rewarding bad behavior with explanations, people reveal themselves quickly. The ones who value you will adjust. The ones who only valued your submission will leave. Either outcome serves you. And here's the psychological twist. Once you start valuing your time, the world starts to compete for it. Scarcity creates respect. It's not cruelty, it's economics. The person who is always available becomes ordinary. The one who chooses when to appear becomes unforgettable. So stop showing up for everyone. Stop rescuing people who never show up for you. Stop trying to prove that you're good. You already are. But goodness, to have meaning, must be protected by strength. This is the balance Machiavelli understood. To be good but untouchable. To be kind but never a victim. To forgive but never forget. To love but never lose yourself in the process. That's not cynicism. That's evolution. Because one day you'll realize the most dangerous thing you can be is not cruel or cold, but self-possessed. When you finally stop chasing love, validation, and approval, you become magnetic. When you stop reacting, people start adjusting. When you stop explaining, your silence begins to carry weight. This is how respect is born, not from trying to be good, but from daring to be real. And in the next part, we'll reach the final turning point. The moment when you must decide once and for all, do you want to be loved or do you want to be free? This is the moment of truth. The point where you stop pretending that being good has ever saved you. Because it hasn't. Being good made you predictable. Being polite made you small. And being endlessly forgiving turned your kindness into a currency others spent freely while you went bankrupt inside. Let's call it what it really is. You've been addicted to approval. Every smile, every nod, every thank you, those were your rewards. You learned to live off the validation of others like oxygen, but approval is not oxygen. It's poison in disguise. It keeps you breathing shallow, dependent on the next fix. And the world has no shortage of people ready to feed that addiction, as long as it benefits them. You think they love you for your goodness. They don't. They love that you're easy to control. Machiavelli knew this centuries ago. He wrote, "Men are ungrateful, fickle, false, cowardly, and covetous." He wasn't condemning humanity. He was describing reality. Because the moment you stop serving someone's interests, they change their tone. They forget your kindness, your sacrifices, your loyalty. So here's the brutal truth. The world does not reward moral purity. It rewards self-possession. It rewards those who know their own worth and refuse to hand it out cheaply. And that's what this final transformation is about, reclaiming your worth, not through defiance, but through discipline. You've spent years being the nice one, the peacekeeper, the healer, the one who understands. You've spent years cushioning other people's mistakes, swallowing your own anger, carrying their burdens while they barely noticed yours. You did it because you believe that's what good people do. But the price of that belief was yourself. No one told you that peace bought with silence is slavery. No one told you that being endlessly available makes you invisible. That the more you explain yourself, the less seriously you're taken. No one told you that you don't earn respect by being harmless. You earn it by being decisive, by being willing to walk away. Machiavelli said, "It is much safer to be feared than loved, if one must choose." Most people misunderstand that line. He didn't mean cruelty. He meant consequence. When people know you have the strength to say, "Enough," they treat you differently. When they sense you could withdraw, that you could detach at any moment, they move with care. That's not fear. That's respect born from boundaries. And here's where everything changes. You stop chasing validation and start demanding alignment. You stop trying to make people like you and start noticing who truly respects you. Because love without respect is dependency, and kindness without boundaries is self-erasure. You can still be compassionate, but now your compassion will have structure. You can still forgive, but forgiveness no longer means access. You can still help others, but you no longer sacrifice yourself to do it. That is the balance Machiavelli called virtù, the fusion of wisdom, restraint, and audacity. The strength to be both fox and lion, perceptive enough to see traps, powerful enough to make others think twice before testing you. The good person inside you doesn't need to die, it needs to mature. You won't stop being kind. You'll just stop being convenient. Because you've learned that kindness without discernment becomes weakness, and weakness in this world is not forgiven, it's exploited. So from now on, you will speak less, but your words will weigh more. You will appear calm, but every silence will be intentional. You will choose carefully where to place your time, your loyalty, your empathy, because those are not gifts, they are investments. And not everyone qualifies. The moment you start living like that, people will notice. They'll call you cold. They'll say you've changed. They'll accuse you of being selfish. But what they really mean is, you stopped being easy to use. Don't take their guilt personally. Their reaction is the sound of power leaving their hands and returning to yours. You are not responsible for their discomfort. You are responsible for your peace. So stop explaining your boundaries. Stop apologizing for your transformation. Stop negotiating with those who benefited from your silence. When you rise, you will lose people, but you will find yourself. And that's the exchange every powerful person makes. The loss of comfort for the gain of command. The death of approval for the birth of freedom. Because freedom isn't something you're given. It's something you claim the moment you stop asking for permission. From this point forward, your kindness will no longer come from fear. It will come from strength. It will no longer be a reaction to others' needs, but a reflection of your own standards. You'll give when you choose to, not when you're coerced to. You'll listen, but you won't absorb other people's chaos. You'll love, but never beg. You'll forgive, but never forget. That's not cruelty. That's sovereignty. And one day, when you look back, you'll realize something powerful. You didn't stop being good. You stopped being naive. You stopped confusing servitude with virtue. You stopped selling yourself for approval. Machiavelli wrote, "The world is not ruled by the good, but by the prepared." And now, you are prepared. So ask yourself, right now, do you want to be loved for your obedience or respected for your freedom? Because the truth is simple. The moment you stop needing to be liked, you become untouchable. The moment you stop explaining yourself, you become mysterious. And the moment you stop apologizing for your power, you become unforgettable. You've spent your whole life trying to be a good person. Now, it's time to be a dangerous one, the kind who leads with calm, moves with purpose, and bows to no one. Your silence will speak louder than your kindness ever did. Your distance will command more respect than your words ever could. And your presence rare, disciplined, undeniable, will carry the weight of someone who is finally, completely free.